Welcome to the Run Testers. In this video, Tom and I are going to be comparing the New Balance RC Elite 2 and the Asics Metaspeed Sky. Start by looking at some of the key stats of the two shoes, and let's go with the price first. The Asics is a slightly more expensive one. It's £225 in the UK or $250 in the US, whereas New Balance is £210 in the UK or $225 in the US. They've both got high stacks, but you can see the New Balance has got a higher one. It's 39mm, very close to the 40mm World Athletics limit, whereas the Metaspeed Sky is actually only 33mm. It also has a lower drop. It's 5mm from heel to toe, whereas New Balance is 10mm. New Balance is the bigger shoe. It's also the weightier shoe. It comes in at 225 grams in my UK size 9, that's 7.93 ounces, whereas the Asics in my size is actually 207 grams or 7.3 ounces, so it's one of the lighter carbon plate shoes out there. Both got pretty comfortable mesh uppers, and in the midsole they've both got fancy super foams. We've got New Balance's FuelCell on the RC Elite 2, which we've seen before in great shoes like the Rebel, the TC, the RC Elite 1. Big high stack of soft squishy foam. This is a very comfy, bouncy shoe. Asics has the FF Turbo foam in the midsole, which is a kind of souped up version of the Blast foam you find on the Nova Blast range. It's nylon based. It's got a reasonably similar feel to some of the PIBA based foams out there like Nike Zoom X. It's a bit softer and squishier than we've typically seen from Asics in the past. Both of them have got a full length carbon plate in the midsole, as you probably already know. And then on the outsole, we've got a little bit more kind of coverage of rubber on the New Balance here, which has a generous amount around the forefoot and quite long patches at the back here that go all the way to the heel, whereas the Asics cuts them off, and you can see as a heel striker I've ripped up a bit of foam there, but they've got quite a decent slab of coverage at the front. Alright, I've got Tom here with me now. Let's start with talking about the fit of the shoes. Tom, are these two shoes true to size for you?
Yeah, both were completely true to size for me. I had no issues at all with either of these shoes.
Ah, fair enough. They're both true to size for me. I had some small issues with the New Balance, which I found it sometimes was a bit sloppy around the midfoot, and if I was going around corners like on track workouts, my foot would slide around a little bit. Also, the insole is mad. I don't know, you can't see that, but it slid almost all the way up my heel. There's nothing under my toes. It doesn't really bother me, but you might have to glue that down, I think. So these are my two, I think, favourite new carbon racing shoes of 2021. I've been racking up a load of miles. I think I've done about 125k in the Asics and like over 150k in the New Balance. Big fan of both, but for kind of different reasons. How do you feel about these shoes, Tom?
Well, I've not done as many miles as you in these, so I think I've probably got to around 40 to 50 miles in each of these. And to be honest, I also like them both. I think last year when we were kind of seeing all the new carbon plate shoes come around, I didn't find anything that excited me, and I enjoyed running in as much as these two shoes. So both of them I think are very good shoes, but I think they're very different types of shoe.
Yeah, I agree on that. So the Asics is the first one I tested, and I took it straight out and ran like a 10kp a minute straight away, and I've used it for lots of kind of fast running, and I think it's really versatile. I think it's quite similar to the Vaporfly in that for me, in that I'd be very happy running a 5k race in this shoe. I've done short, sharp reps on the track in it, but I've also gone up to kind of really long sessions doing kind of 5 times 3k reps or 4 times 5k, kind of sessions that end up near high 20k, and I think it's comfortable enough that I'd probably be reasonably happy pushing it all the way to a full marathon. So I think that's what this shoe has got on its side. It's a really versatile shoe that I think is fast across all paces, really. Yeah,
I'd agree. I mean, for me, I think the Asics Metaspeed Sky is the overall winner for me. A bit of a teaser there for the final verdict, but I think for me the Metaspeed Sky is the closest that I've tried to the Vaporfly, which is my favourite running shoe when it comes to race day of all time. I've used it for track. I've used it for sort of plodding runs to see what it was like on those. I haven't done a half marathon race in these yet. I've done a 10k in them, but it just delivers really well in the majority of those cases. I don't think it delivers particularly well for like a slower plod. I don't think you get a lot from it for that. But when it comes to anything from like maybe 5k up to maybe about 17k I've run in these so far, it's just been fantastic, and it just feels really conducive to running fast.
Yeah, it's definitely super speedy, and I think New Balance is, I think, a slightly different carbon shoe. You can see it's got this huge stack of very soft cushioning. I think it's really built for kind of comfortable cruising, still at a fast pace, but maybe geared more towards marathon, half marathon efforts. And actually, I've done quite a lot of easy training in it as well, just because it is so comfortable. But we've both raced a half marathon. It's not to say it's slow. Like, we've both raced a half marathon this shoe. I ran a 1:11. You blew out your car.
Less said about that, the better.
But I definitely think it's got the pace for it. And I've taken it down the track and done 400-metre reps in it, and I've had no real problem with it. It just doesn't feel like a 5K shoe to me. It feels much more like a half marathon than a marathon shoe when you are looking for comfort that still has a fair old kick of pace in it.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. When you've got something like the Vaporfly or the Metaspeed Sky, I think you can feel yourself going faster. And when you're running over those shorter distances, whether it's track, whether it's 5K, whether it's 10K, you want to go fast. You want something that's making you go faster. But over marathon distance and a half marathon, when I ran it in this, it just felt, you didn't really notice it was on your feet. It just felt like a really nice way to run a half marathon. So yeah, I think it doesn't feel like it's making you go faster, but it does feel really nice. So I definitely think marathon's probably the best focus for it, and I'll probably use this for the London Marathon when it comes up.
It's weird, almost slightly weird thing. Like, I feel like it's the most disconnected like carbon shoe from the ground. Like, I don't feel the ground underneath my feet in the shoe at all, but it is going quite quick. The only note I would have actually on the shoes is I am a heel striker, as we all know on the channel, and I think the Asics is going to wear a little bit harder at the heel there. I've ripped a fair bit more off that because obviously the rubber only extends so far back. Whereas the New Balance, I've obviously done, I think, about 30-40 more K in it, and I haven't put a dent in it at all. And I think that is one plus point. And like I say, you can use it for training. I used it for 22 miles yesterday, part of my marathon training. And the second half of that was reasonably quick, but it felt really protective, really comfortable, and it does feel like it can take quite a lot of punishment. So maybe you're getting a little bit of extra value for it there in terms of durability.
Yeah, I've not really noticed any sort of wear and tear on either of the shoes there, apart from a tiny bit. I pronate a very slight amount on the sort of outer side of my foot, and there is a bit coming off there. On the New Balance, you notice that the rubber sort of sits right in the middle, so you do have a little bit more exposed foam on the outside of there, whereas the Asics is a little bit more rubber around that section, so it does give me a bit more coverage on that. It's not massive, but I've only done like 50 miles in it, so it might be a bit more as I'm going along, but there's not really any major wear or tear at all I've got.
So it comes to our verdict on these two very, very good carbon racing shoes. I think for me, I'd probably say the Metaspeed Sky is the stronger all-rounder. If you're buying just one carbon racing shoe to use from everything, 5K up to a marathon, fast sessions, I think it's got the slight edge just because I think it will perform better over 5K, 10K, and it still is comfy enough for those longer races. Where are you coming in on this time? I think you've already trailed your verdict here, but what do you think?
I'm fully with you. I really like this shoe. I think it actually surprised me when it came out how much I liked it, because I'm a big Vaporfly fan and I've never really found a shoe that I liked as much as that. I still don't think it's my favourite shoe. I think Vaporfly still caps it for me, but when it comes down to these two shoes, I'd always buy this one just because it's a versatile race shoe, whereas I don't think this has got, you can use it for as much as you can use this for.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's quite close to Vaporfly. It's exactly how I use the Vaporfly. I think it's also a very versatile racing shoe. The interesting thing about the Asics shoe is that it's obviously part of this double act from Asics, with the Metaspeed Edge, which is, the Metaspeed Edge is redesigned for runners like me, shuffly, high cadence runners, but actually the Metaspeed Sky I've absolutely loved, and this feels much more like a real super shoe. Haven't tried the Edge, but it's not something that I feel desperate to try. I think the Sky really hits all the boxes for me anyway, even though I'm not technically this bounding glorious runner they seem to suggest it's aimed at. I'm much more of a shuffler. The only thing I will say in the New Balance's favour is that if you are someone who really actually is focused very much on marathons or doesn't mind having a couple of carbon shoes, it's a really comfortable marathon option, and I think it's a very friendly carbon shoe. I think a lot of runners could pick this up and really enjoy the run in it. I think maybe the Asics is a bit more like the Vaporfly. It does feel like something that people are really chasing performance gains would pick up, whereas this is a very friendly purple shoe with sparkles on it.
Oh, it's a beautiful looking shoe. It's a lovely shoe.
And I think a lot of people would love their marathon in it, I think.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I also think that with the New Balance shoe, not everybody wants a shoe that feels like the Vaporfly. That not everybody wants to feel like they're being propelled forward. This is a very comfortable shoe to run in. It doesn't feel like it's changing the way you're running as you're kind of moving through the miles. And for some people, that's probably the what they want from a shoe, and it's fantastic at that. It just feels so nice and enjoyable when you're running in it, and I'm looking forward to trying it for a marathon and seeing if that actually does have a big effect across that distance.
And also, I will say on all these things, like this is still very comfy, and this is still going to be fast over 5k. These are all slight advantages we're giving each shoe, but yeah, overall, probably just give it the Metaspeed Sky.
I mean, they're all three of those shoes we've talked about, they're the best of the carbon plate bunch, basically. So there's not a lot in it for me. I think it would ultimately come down to price, and they're all kind of sit around the same price point for me. And because of that, I'm going for Vaporfly, but I think if it's between these two, I think this is a bit more expensive than this one, isn't it? This is 220 and this is 210.
Yeah, 225 and 210, yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, I would still pay the extra for that, just between those two price points. I just think this the Asics Metaspeed Sky just takes it for me.
That's it, guys. That is our versus of the Asics Metaspeed Sky and the New Balance RC Elite. Let us know in the comments what you think of these two new shoes. What's your favourite carbon ratio at the moment? And yeah, we will see you next time.